And what is up, everybody? Okay, I've lost count as to what Karate Fighter rant this is and how many that I've done so far. But all I know is that, no ifs, ands, or buts, this is the last one. Because I was watching on YouTube, apparently this guy, Bob Gans, has all 18 figures that I told you about. Well, I just beat him because not only do I have all 18, but I also have all the variations of the Karate Fighters game mechanic as well. So, I've already gotten into the originals, but just to get things started, let's kick it off with the originals. We have Dragon Kick versus the Red Ninja, Thunderfoot versus Skull Crusher. We have Special Mail-In Order for the Dark Ninja. And then the new wave, the electronics, you had Headstone versus Samurai Ninja, Cyber Fist versus Tiger Ninja, and Special Mail-In Order, Silver Sword. Then, when the new electronic ones came out, you had Corporal Punishment versus Kickstar. Then, not 100% sure which came first, but I'm going to show them first anyway. With the 4-Fighter Combat Arena, we had Rex Havoc versus the Tattooed Terror. Then, the last bit, the Morphing Electronic Karate Fighters. Sun Warrior versus Razor Jaw, and Serpent Strike versus Iron Claw. Now, the ones that they were packaged with had the exact same morphing action as them, and the way it worked was, you have Sun Warrior here. Sun Warrior, what you do is, because as it's flailing back and forth on the controller, it's going to eventually extend far enough, sets this off. This is going to clamp on top of his head, and, just goes about, just keep fighting. Just simply from here. And it's supposed to latch on. Doesn't really do that. It catches onto his head. But, the more and more you're flailing it back and forth, eventually it's going to clamp down like it's supposed to. Then, of course, you have this mechanic, because what happens is as you flail them, 4 extra arms open up. Now, granted, these 2 little arms don't really do anything, but these 2 extra arms might come in handy. And the controllers they came on, which much more cooler looking. Just like the electronic Karate Fighters, these have a more Dragon-esque feel to it. Kind of like, and they have the 5 point dial. It was kind of like the 4-Fighter Combat Arena and maybe the 4-Fighter Combat Arena was modeled after that, which is great. So even if you want to do single combat, especially, you do that, and it just has a much more cooler feel to it. And of course, it was electronic, so if you send a guy flying off, he's going to be screaming. But I made mention of how Milton Bradley was which was basically Hasbro's board game department. Hasbro had bought out Kenner, probably, in the mid to late 90s. And during that time, you saw like, prime example, you had G.I. Joe dolls making their way into Kenner. Granted, still Hasbro's property, but Kenner put their label on it. So what wound up happening was, they started to branch out and make variations of Karate Fighters. The first ones being, for the Lost World Jurassic Park, the Battling Raptors. Now, these Raptors, basically, just like the regular Karate Fighters, flail back and forth, this, that, the other. But they got the button right here that obviously kick that, hit that with the tail, with the foot, with the claws. Tail, foot, claws, anything like that, it's obviously going to go flying off. And their controllers were also electronic, but their controllers, the foot was much wider, you know, and they rounded off the feet so you could, you know, fit that better, because at the time I guess they couldn't think of anything else. But Kenner was making the Jurassic Park toys, so that was like the next conclusion. It was cool, but you can't fit those on the Karate Fighters controllers. You can't fit that on the Four Fighter Combat Arena, which would have been awesome. You know, almost like Tekken. As if they were fighting whoever the boxing Raptor was, Alex, I believe. That being said, what they also came out with later, because Kenner made all, at the time in the 90s especially, was making all the DC action figures. So here comes Batman Night Force Ninjas, Batman versus Joker. Okay? But then also they made, because I didn't know this, I thought Hasbro made the Small Soldiers toy line. Turns out it was also done by Kenner. And here is Major Chip Hazard versus Archer. Here was the problem with that. Because it was done by Kenner, this part makes me very, very mad. Because it was done by Kenner, they have an extra peg hole. An extra peg hole, because I guess Kenner just wanted to be different. So this is the controller that is for Batman and Joker. This is the controller they came out. They didn't bother putting the stickers on, because I didn't get the controllers for Chip Hazard and Archer. So if ever I want to use Chip Hazard and Archer, I can't use them on the Four Fighter Combat Arena. I can't use them on the regular Karate Fighter controllers. I got to use them on this to be able to play with them. However, for some reason, even though Chip Hazard and Archer fit on the Batman controllers, and they don't fit on the regular Karate Fighters controllers, Batman and Joker fit perfectly. You know, you pop them on, and you play with them no problem. Whether electronic, the Four Fighter Combat Arena, the regular controllers, doesn't matter. They fit perfectly, which is awesome. That way you expand the universe to at least 2 more fighters. I say at least because then Milton Bradley, being owned by Hasbro, and in 2001, Hasbro this was 2002, but let me go back to 2001. Because in 2001, this time, there's no more Kenner. Everything's Hasbro. They released, for Jurassic Park 3, no more battling Raptors. Because the big thing in the movie was the Spinosaurus versus the T-Rex. So Spinosaurus versus T-Rex. These had different kinds of feet. They had the 3-pointed toes for the talons. And one thing I loved extra that they added, that little feature. Push their neck forward and their jaws open up. Now, the Spinosaurus as well. And you had these big claws for this one. It almost seemed unfair. He had bigger reach than the T-Rex. And the T-Rex had, not so big, but, still a good fight. And, of course, the big thing in the movie was Spinosaurus versus T-Rex, to which, spoiler alert, Spinosaurus gets eaten. The T-Rex gets eaten by the Spinosaurus. What winds up happening then is in 2002, because at the end of 2001, G.I. Joe, Hasbro tried releasing G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero versus Cobra, and this was the last time they had a Karate Fighter set. You had Duke versus the Neo Viper. Now, what I love is that now you have 4 extra fighters that you could put on. You got Batman, you got Joker, you got Duke, you got the Neo Viper, and all 18 Karate Fighters that fit on the regular Karate Fighters controller and fit in the 4 Fighter Combat Arena. So you could just go absolutely buck wild, at least with those. The Raptors don't fit on the Jurassic Park 3 controllers, unfortunately. Very, very disappointed about that. You know, it could have been cool. Could have been a little bit of a mashup. It would have been nice if they'd have kept some continuity and try to keep everything compatible. But people just got to be difficult sometimes, and this is what winds up happening. All in all, I'm very, very happy. I got all this. What I do now is, especially this year, I have the costume. I dress up as the Dark Ninja, and for my church's backpack giveaway, which is set up like a carnival, I do it like a carnival game. Kids have to come and challenge me with all the other figures that are compatible with the 4-fighter combat arena, and give the kids something to actually fight. Almost like a dunk tank without getting wet. So it just happens to work very well with this, and I'm real glad I got this. Like I said, Bob Gans, he doesn't have all this. He doesn't have all the extra stuff. I do now. I don't know anybody else on the internet right now that actually has everything. And even if I was to sell all of these, I honestly God don't know how much money I would make. I'm not looking into selling all of them right now. But this was a great game. I wish to God Hasbro would bring it back. Hasbro should bring it back. Just like I want them to bring back Zevos, along with a 6-inch toy line for G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero. I'm dead serious, man. You make a Snake Eyes figure like you would, Marvel Legends. You could charge any amount of money for that, and guaranteed people are gonna buy it anyway. I love this toy. I love this toy line. Glad to have it. Really, glad that I'm done with it, and this is the last time I'm going to be talking about it. So I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.